we will be applying 80-20 rule. That is 80% of your weightage will go to the explanation of this part with the help of relevant judicial decisions, and 20% will be where we will go beyond the demand. Always remember that your way forward has to be optimistic and it needs to be futuristic. The second one is the quote-based introduction, which hardly 1% of the aspirants will write.
What are those X factor ingredients that you could put in an answer at various sections?
This is the X factor that you need in your answer.
One good source of current affairs. It can be Civilsdaily.
You need to have that X factor in your answer.
With the help of X factor notes.
This is the best notes you can have.
I used to read their X factor notes.
The questions are very good and even the answers were very detailed, and they were, I extracted a lot of content from them.
The first topic that we will be discussing today is the nature of the constitution. So the nature and philosophy of the constitution is the first topic. So from this, see, generally you get a philosophical question majorly related to the either, we have already discussed this particular topic in our orientation session also, but you can get one question from this particular topic, especially with respect to the constitutional morality or with respect to the Supreme Court judgments and the amendments or laws. So they can be with respect to the any section. They have already asked with respect to the environment. They have already asked with respect to the gender, that is women. So you may also get a similar kind of the question with respect to the minorities, with respect to the tribals, or with respect to the children. So with specific sections, or you can get with respect to the sectors also, right? So the one is with respect to the sections and second with respect to the sectors, like with respect to the property, right? With respect to education, with respect to the health. So they can frame a question in a way, explain constitutional perspective on minorities, or explain constitutional perspective with respect, or explain the evolution of the constitutional perspective with respect to the property. So these are the themes on which you can expect a question next year. Similarly, constitutional morality, till now they have asked two questions, and in both the questions what they have basically asked is the explanation of the concept. So explain the concept of constitutional morality. And then this year they have linked it to the judicial independence and accountability. So your job is to cover these aspects. So without wasting any time. Okay. Then if you see the answer writing framework of the first topic, so like I said, mostly the questions will start from the, or will be the analytical or conceptual. For example, this constitutionalization or constitutionalization, or constitutional perspective. Similarly here, constitutional morality. So the most relevant introduction becomes the definition or the quote. When we will write the actual answer, you will see, and these are given in the introduction part. Similarly, in main body, you need to remember the key pillars of the constitutional morality. Because in both years, what they have asked is they explain the concept of constitutional morality. So you need to remember its key pillars. Second, when you are talking about the issues, you can classify your points under the political, institutional, social. And with respect to the way forward, you simply use the stakeholder framework. Remember stakeholder framework for the entire polity. Because in majority of the questions we will be starting, or we will be giving the way forward as per the stakeholders only. So that it will bring the diversity also into your points. So we won't give just 3 to 4 points just on judiciary. Okay, rather we can comprehensively provide the way forward for all the stakeholders. Okay, these are few the X factor pointers which you can put it into your answers. Okay, and then with respect to the conclusion, you can first add the quote or one scholar. Okay, when we'll write the answers, you will get the better clarity. Now these are few of the these are the notes which, now see, few points of the notes I'll just point out so that when we will actually write the answers, we will see how we are replicating the notes exactly into our answers. Okay. So first part from the notes you need to remember is the constitutional as a living document. So the introductory part of this, that is according to Woodrow Wilson, living constitution must be Darwinian in structure and in practice. Second part that you need to remember is with respect to the constitutional morality code. Okay. Second, these pillars of constitutional morality. Okay. And judicial perspective on the constitutional morality. Just remember these three parts, you will see how we are using them into our answers. Okay. So without wasting any time, these are the toppers answers which you will be reading after the session. So without wasting any time, we'll start with our answers. Okay. So the first, nature and philosophy of the Constitution. The first question is, the constitutional morality is rooted in the Constitution itself and is founded on its essential facets. Explain the doctrine of constitutional morality with the help of relevant judicial decisions. Okay. So now in this particular question, if you see what they have asked basically is the one, identify the theme of the question. Okay. So the core theme of the question is the constitutional morality. Okay. That means this particular question is the concept based question. Right. So what is our framework for the concept based question? It is the definition in the intro. Okay. Remember this one key principle throughout your GS papers. If the question is the concept based question where they have asked the concept, automatically your introduction becomes definition of that particular concept. Okay. Now let's decode the question. Okay. Now if you remember, see, the question has two parts. This is the first sentence of the question and this is the second statement of the question. Okay. So if you see, what they have done is here, what they have done, this first statement, okay, it doesn't carry with it any of the directive. That means there is no directive. It means it becomes your implicit or hidden demand. Okay. This is your implicit and hidden demand. What does that mean? It means you have to address this particular part of the question very briefly and using diagram. Okay. The second part of the question, here you have the clear directive, which is explain the constitutional morality with the help of relevant judicial decisions. That means this is your explicit demand and this you will be addressing into the going forward. Okay. This is the first part of the brainstorming or the structuring. The second part is the application of the rule. Okay. Now just remember the rules. जैसे जैसे हम क्वेश्चंस करते जाएंगे वैसे वैसे you will get familiar with the rules. So as far as the directive explain is concerned, we will be applying 80-20 rule. That is 80% of your weightage will go to the explanation of this part with the help of relevant judicial decisions, and 20% will be where we will go beyond the demand. Okay, that is, we can highlight the challenges and way forward in a table. Okay, so here as it is 80-20, all you need is the two challenges, two way forwards. That's it. Okay, and that too in a table. In left hand side challenges, right hand side way forward. Okay, so this is the brainstorming aspect of this particular question. Okay, now with respect to the generation of the points or the frameworks, what they have asked in the first part is rooted in Constitution itself and is founded on its essential facets. That means basically for the implicit part, you need to give the constitutional provisions, which you can classify under the fundamental rights, DPSP, preamble, right, on these lines. And the second, explain with the help of relevant judicial decisions. So basically in the second part, all you have to give is the judicial decisions. Okay, so this is your brainstorming part of the question. Now let's start writing the answer. Okay, so like we said, as it is a conceptual question, we will start with the definition of that particular concept. Okay, so constitutional morality implies adherence to core principles and spirit of the Constitution. Okay, and our keywords are this, so we'll box this. Okay, going beyond this, we can also add the quote. As per Ambedkar, it is not a natural sentiment, but has to be cultivated. So this is your standard introduction for the constitutional morality. So if you see, we have keywords, we have scholar, has to be cultivated, and we also have the quote. Okay, now the constitutional morality. Okay, so if you see in the answer writing framework, what I had given is you need to mention or try to mention or must use Ambedkar and Groth. Okay, so we have already used the Ambedkar. Now it's the second part. Okay, so as per in bracket, you just mention his book, History of Greece. Yeah, you guys have to write with me. Okay, it involves a short table, reference or constitution.
Yeah.
Okay, then open criticism.
Should we make it like this?
Sorry.
This, I mean, you have put like a tree diagram, history of diagram.
Yes, you have to mention the book. Okay. Then Third, public reason and restraint. Okay, if you see, like I said, we have picked this from this part of the notes. This. Okay. Now you come to the core demand of the question. That is the first part, rooted in constitutional itself. Okay. So constitutional morality. Rooted in constitution.
So,
Yes.
so open criticism of.
The open criticism of government or authority.
Okay.
Okay. So constitutional morality rooted in the constitution. What you have to do? You have to simply give the provisions of the constitution. Okay. But you can use the again diagram, or you have to elaborate it very briefly, like I said. So again, we'll make a flow chart. So preamble.
So are we going either or with the Ambedkar and road codes, or are we using both of them?
Try to use both of them. Okay.
Okay.
Other scholars are optional. Okay. So preamble, liberty, equality, justice. Second part of the constitution, fundamental rights. Right. So example, right to dignity under Article 21. Right. Third is DPSP. Right. You can add any example for the DPSP. And fourth is the democratic process. Right. Example, free and fair elections. Okay. If you want, you can also add one more point, that is separation of power. Okay. But these four are sufficient. Okay. So this will address your first part of the question, that is constitutional morality founded on essential facets of the constitution. Okay. Agar if they would have given the directive to this, if they would have asked explain for this part, then the same points you would have written it into the points. Now a simple is you come to the judicial decisions, relevant judicial decisions. So judicial decisions upholding constitutional morality. Okay. And these points will be the same that are given into the notes. Okay. So the one, Kesavananda Bharti, you have to write the answers with me. Okay. The second question on the constitutional morality, I will be giving you the time and you will be writing on your own. Okay.
So, under the table that explains fundamental rights and EPSPs, there are more under fundamental rights, right? Like equality.
Yes, but
So
we
can-
have to give just one example. We
Okay,
don't
so
need
these
to
are
provide
just
everything.
examples.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So Kesavananda Bharti, he introduced basic structure doctrine. As a reflection of constitutional morality. ठीक है. Second, NAS Foundation case. ठीक है. And or you can talk about NAS Foundation and Notej Singh Johar. ठीक है. So decriminalized. Yes. What did it decriminalize?
Same-sex marriage.
Homosexual relations.
Yes.
Same-sex
Homosexuality. Section 377 plus. Okay. So establishing superiority of constitutional morality over social morality. Okay, again, as the question has asked, explain the constitutional morality with relevant judicial decisions. You need to link the judgment, every judgment with the constitutional morality. Okay, so fourth, suprema law judgment. Allowed entry to women, establishing gender equality. Right? So gender equality is the essential facet of constitutional morality. Okay. Next, fifth. Yes, Joseph Shane. Okay. Struck down. Section 497 of IPC. Okay. That is adultery. So establishing or establishing or protecting individual dignity and autonomy. This is under Article 20. In your elaboration also, you have to put as many facts as possible. Right. Now I need 3 more judgments. Okay. So you have to give me 3 more judgments. What are the 3 more judgments?
सर वो मनेका गांधी वाला ले सकते हैं.
Sorry?
मनेका गांधी.
Maneka Gandhi, okay. How will you explain it? You need to link it with the pillar of constitutional morality.
But it gives superiority to fundamental rights over DPSP.
But how is that then linked to the constitutional morality? Because fundamental rights as well as DPSP both are part of constitutional morality.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can we take some of the interpretations that are given under Article 21, like the recent one, Sukhdev Saha, in which
Yes.
right to mental health was taken under Article 21?
Yes.
Or the Subramaniam Swamy, in which a reputation was linked under Article 21?
A reputation was again not much linked to the constitutional morality, but right to mental health, you can definitely mention. The Sukhdev
Saha.
Sir, Shreya single case also. Sir.
Shreya Singhal also. Right to mental health. Intrinsic to right to life and dignity. What else? You are missing out on one most important case.
Sir, M. Ranjit Singh.
How about Puttaswamy case?
Sorry?
Puttaswamy case.
Puttaswamy case.
Sir,
Right.
M. Ranjit Singh.
What else? Puttaswamy apart from that?
Sir, M. Ranjit Singh. Right
Okay.
to protection
Anuradha
against
Bhasin
One
case,
or
right to internet.
Sorry,
Anuradha Bhasin case, right to internet.
right to internet again, but okay, you can mention right to internet also. Okay.
Sir,
Anuradha
right to,
Bhasin also.
the right to
Yes.
protection against adverse impact of climate change.
Okay, but that will come under the expanding scope of the fundamental rights. Sir, Manoj Nerola.
Can the state of Tamil Nadu versus governor of Tamil Nadu, that one be taken under this?
With respect to?
Article 200, the timeline that is given to the
Okay,
constitutional
with
authorities.
respect to the powers of governor. Okay, but first.
Indra Sound.
Indra Swani with respect to reservation also you can add.
Yes.
Okay.
So does triple talaq come under this constitutional morality?
Triple talaq will also come. We have already covered one aspect related to the women. Okay. You can give the triple talaq also. Yes, definitely.
Sir, how about we mention one case where the judgments has been slightly controversial regarding constitutional morality? For example, the Ram Mandir case, where the judges gave favor to religious belief rather than secularism mentioned in constitution.
No, but see, that was again, don't go into that, the criticism of the judgments. Generally, we avoid the controversial points.
Okay.
Could we use this in the challenges though?
Sir, what about Vijay Emmanuel case, sir?
Sir, Manoj Nerola 2014 case.
Sir,
Which one?
Manoj Nerola.
Vijay Emmanuel case, sir.
Related to?
The
Right to be silent. Right to
Yes, that also can be added.
MC Mehta versus Union of India Environmental.
With respect to the environment, we generally environment also you can add. But
NJAC judgment in terms of judicial independence and separation of
NJC
powers.
again, they have not linked it to the constitutional morality. You pick simply this one. Constitutional morality ensures cooperative federalism and prevents concentration of power. So government of NCT versus 8th.
So why not NJAC case in of 2015?
Because in that case, they haven't, Supreme Court itself hasn't linked it directly to the constitutional morality. Okay. Versus Government of India, where
Can we use Golaknath versus State of Punjab over here as constitutional amendments and not letting the parliament pass it?
Golaknath case, again, in that case, they haven't mentioned the constitutional morality.
Sir, Shah Banu case.
Yes, that you can mention. Ensures.
Sir, Arun Schoenberg, yes.
Yes, that can also be mentioned. Yes. ठीक है, हो गया अपने आप. Cooperative federalism.
Sir, I have a doubt that if judicial independence is a part of constitutional morality, so why is the NJAC case intrinsically not related to it?
It is related to it. Okay, again, constitutional morality is the open-ended concept. You can add any question or any judgment, or you can link it to the constitutional morality. There are no boundaries with respect to the constitutional morality concept. You can add everything in the constitutional morality. Okay, but we have to pick the most relevant ones. Okay. So these are the 8 ones which are sufficient. And then, like we said, the 80-20 rule.
And what is the third point?
Sabrimala judgment. Sorry, Nas Foundation and Note Singh Johar case with respect to homosexuality. Okay. And as per our 80-20 rule, what we will be doing is the limitations and way forward. Okay. So what are the limitations? So one is
Dynamism.
Overreach. Right here, you can add the example of NJAC. Because NJAC has been criticized. NJAC, ban on the firecrackers or the ban on the selling of the alcohol on the highways. Okay. Then recent the Supreme Court judgments on the power of the governor. These are the 4 to 5 important judgments which has been subjected to criticism as judicial overreach. Okay. So you put these into the examples as the judicial overreach. Okay. Again, it is very subjective, but jitna maximum majority opinion is it is judicial overreach. Okay. Second, the resistance from society. Okay. Or resistance from social morality or conflict, you can put it in a better way, conflict with constitutional with social morality. Example, opposition to the Sabrimala verdict. Right. And in the way forward, you mentioned these two, the scholars that we have mentioned. Okay. So one is Constitutional Patriotism by Jeremy Habermas. Yeah. Habermas Constitutional Patriotism. And second, so judicial overreach ka opposite, that is judicial restraint.
So what is this conflict with social
morality? That is when social morality is in conflict with the constitutional principles. Just there was the opposition to the Sabrimala verdict or opposition to the Supreme Court judgment on Jallikattu, right? Where people consider that particular practice as sacred, or people justify those customs even though it goes against the principles of the Constitution. Okay. And second, constitutional patriotism. Right? Because you have again scholar. And then you simply conclude. Okay. So constitutional morality is the
so should we write judicial independence instead of judicial restraint in way forward?
How it is a judicial independence? How can it be a way forward? Judicial independence is already there. Who is interfering in judiciary?
But restraint sound a negative word to be put in way forward.
Yes. So to limit judicial overreach, you need to have the judicial restraint, no?
All right.
The soul of Indian democracy. Right. And then see, always remember your way forward has to be optimistic and it needs to be futuristic. That is, it has to be thoda sa suggestive kind of way or way forward kind of tone to it.
Sir, can we use quotes in the conclusion part, sir?
Yes, you can use. As we have already used one quote into the introduction, so I am avoiding it. Okay. So it needs to be protected and promoted under the spirit of constitutionalism. Okay. Now this constitutes your ideal answer. Okay. If you see in this particular answer, what basically we have done, we have addressed each and every demand of the question. The constitutional morality rooted in the Constitution, we have addressed that. Okay. Then constitutional morality, explain the doctrine of constitutional morality, we have explained it. And then explain it with the relevant judicial decisions, we have explained it. Okay, so agar dekhoge to 80% of our weightage from after the introduction to here, it has gone to the demands of the question, be it implicit or explicit. And then briefly, at the end, we have gone beyond the demand, and this is your 20% weightage. Okay, and again, I'm telling you, this is subjective. Okay, this is not mandatory in every question. Only in cases, or sometimes what happens is that you get questions are so random that you may face the content crunch. Okay, in that case, you do it, or आपके पास अगर time है तो you do it, otherwise you can conclude after the judgment itself, because our criteria with respect to the dimension coverage has already been fulfilled. So we have given 8 judgments, we have mentioned 4 points here, 12, and we have given 3 points here, 15 points we have already covered. Okay, so this is the extra part which you can skip in your answers also. Okay, that's completely fine. Okay, ये clear है? Now the similar question with respect to this, the constitutional morality is the fulcrum which acts as the essential check upon the high functionaries and citizens alike. Okay, this is your first statement. Again, is there any directive attached to it? Have they asked you to explain it or discuss it or analyze it? No, that means it is, what is this? It is your, yes, this part is
implicit demand, sir.
Implicit demand of the question, right? Okay, second, Supreme Court explain the concept of constitutional morality. This is your first core demand. Okay, and second, explain its application to ensure balance between judicial independence and judicial accountability, which is your second core demand. Okay, and as the directive is explained, what rule we will be using? 80-20 or 70-30, you can say.
So first of all, definition, sir.
Yes, so
regarding
if you see in this particular question also, so previous answer we have written, uska almost, okay, so up till this part, it will be repeated.
Sir, apart from writing the definition, can we explain the quotation, sir?
Sorry?
Not going directly with the definition, can we explain the quotation in the introduction part?
So we have given definition plus quote. We have given both.
So not in this question,
So
sir.
the quotation
next
is mentioned in the question itself.
Sorry?
So the
Quotation
quotation is
is
already mentioned in the question, no, sir. So can we go with the explaining the quotation, sir? Better than
No,
having
that explanation of the quotation is your implicit demand, no? So you won't explain it into the introduction. You will explain it into the main body.
Sir, but already there was a quotation in the question. Can we add some more quotations to the introduction part like this?
Yes, yes, you can.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Then after this, you can mention few of the judicial decisions also while explaining the constitutional morality, and this 20% part, it will also be at the end of your answer. Okay. So similarly, in this particular question also, our introduction is going to be same. Okay. Just a second. Okay. So introduction, we are going to give the same introduction. You just note it down. You write the same introduction. So even if you have written into the previous question, I want you to write it again. Yes.
So regarding this question, there is this mention of essential check upon the high function
That is
base.
your implicit demand that will be addressed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do we have to address that
Yes,
as well?
yes, yes, yes. That is your
Okay,
implicit demand. No. So now, as per Ambedkar, okay, it is not a natural sentiment, but has to be cultivated. The same introduction. Okay, then the first part, implicit demand, that is constitutional morality, which acts as a check upon the high functionaries. What are the high functionaries?
Legislature and executive.
Yes, legislature and executive.
So over
And
here we
second-
can quote Kesavananda Bharati, right?
Yes.
Alex.
Okay, and second is
Sir,
the
sir,
citizens.
among the high functionaries, can we mention various bodies like ECI and others?
If you have the case judgments, you can mention, yes.
Okay, sir.
But यहाँ पे, with respect to the high functionaries, you will use the points which are given into your answer writing framework. That is the pillars of the constitutional morality. So how constitutional morality acts as a check on high functionaries, that is through constitutional values, that is supremacy of the constitution. Second, rule of law act as a check on legislature. Democratic principles of, you can talk about, or separation of power acts as a check upon executive. Right, example, NJAC again you can give here. Checks and balances acts as a check upon executive and legislature. Example, judicial review. Okay, that. So in this way, then constitutional interpretation, again, that can act as a check upon the arbitrary executive and judicial decisions. Okay, so these will be your points, and then how it acts as a check on the citizens by promoting or fraternity and pluralism ka opposite. Okay, by discouraging hate speech, intolerance, right? Then by encouraging the self-restraint, you can give any example, by preventing the discrimination on the lines of caste, gender. Okay, then you can also talk about this constitutional promoting or preventing of the here discrimination, right? Here with respect to the fraternity and pluralism, preventing hate speech or mob violence, you can talk about. Okay, then promoting gender equality, again same judgment Sabrimala you can give. Okay, or this how it acts as a check on citizens by countering patriarchy and promoting gender equality. Example, Sabrimala. That's why you need to remember the pillars of the constitutional morality properly. Okay, if you see here, how will we start? Key constitutional morality as a fulcrum. That is going to be our heading. Okay, so okay, this, and then check upon high functionaries and citizens. So you simply write the points, check upon high functionaries right. So how does it establish a check? Through supremacy of constitution, through basic structure doctrine. Okay, second, rule of law. Okay, so rule of law is aimed at preventing executive.
Can we mention the articles of the Constitution that
Yes,
promote rule
you
of
can
law?
mention also. Okay, so rule of, but what you have to mention, how it acts as a check upon high functionaries.
Okay.
Okay, third.
What about adding cases here as well?
Yes, you can add judicial review.
Sir, can we write examples like the cases there, sir?
That I am writing. That's why you just see.
Okay.
So, you can ask your doubts after once I finish my answer. because otherwise we won't be able to write 10 answers in 2 hours. Okay. So NJAC judgment, independence of judiciary. Okay. Fourth, check on executive. What example can you give for check on executive?
Indra Swani was a case law where judicial.
Indra Swani you can give. No, Indra Swani with respect to the creamy layer, that was the case.
Indira Gandhi Nehru case.
Indira
where
Gandhi Nehru case also you can give, or you can give the DC Wadhwa also. Okay, so DC Wadhwa case, frequent ordinance as fraud on the Constitution. Yeah.
Even SR Bommai can be mentioned.
SR Bommai also can be mentioned, yes. So you can talk about this protecting federalism. Okay, that. Then fifth, separation of powers. Okay, I am giving you the extra points. You don't need to write 6 or 7 points. You can write just 5 points or 4 points. That is also sufficient because this is not in core demand. Then example, Raj Narayan case, struck down 39th amendment. So 39th amendment basically that limited, yes, judicial. You can give more points also. Then second aspect of it is checks on citizens. Okay, how it acts as a checks on citizens? Yes. Okay, first, Sabrimala, we have already done it.
Discrimination wala part.
Establishing superiority of, guys, you have to write it with me. Okay, of constitutional morality over social morality. Right. Example, Sabrimala. Verdict. Okay, you can give the Navtej Singh Johar also. Okay, second, tolerance or discourages hate speech, intolerance. Okay.
Could I mention untouchability, Article 17?
Untouchability also. Okay. Discrimination also you can mention. Okay. So again, discourages the discrimination on the grounds of religion, caste, sex, etc. Article 15. What else?
Safeguarding public property, sir. National integrity.
Okay, that is also there. What else?
Fundamental duties?
See, you have to explain how it acts as a check on citizens.
Right.
How it limits the powers of the citizens.
A moral imposed on the citizens?
Sorry?
Article 19.
It imposes a moral obligation on the citizens to follow the duties.
Yeah, you can mention that.
Sir, what about Article 19?
Moral obligations on citizens. Example, give me one fundamental rights which establishes moral. Give me one fundamental duty which establishes moral obligation.
Respecting the
Protection
national
of environment.
Respecting
flag.
Okay. Or dignity of women also you can mention. National flag. Yes. I need one more.
So protection of environment.
Sir, what about Article 19, sir?
Fundamental duty having scientific temper.
Yes. Okay. How constitutional morality checks citizens, that is through the reasonable restrictions on fundamental rights. Right?
Yes.
Reasonable.
The preventive detection thing.
Preventive detention is not a reasonable restriction. It has been more misused.
Sir, not under this point, sir, as a separate point.
Yes. But fundamental rights. Example, restriction or defamation you can mention.
Can exceptions to fundamental rights like Article 31A, B,
No.
C, they?
You can mention it, yes. Okay, these many points are fine. Yeah, these you have to write just 4 points each and try to finish it into the first page itself. Okay, then you come to this part. Explain the concept of constitutional morality. That will come on the second page and it should take around 2/3 of the page. And that will be the same this part. Okay, only it will be in point format. जैसे हमने notes में दिया है. ठीक है? So जैसे exactly same you will write it into this key. Again, give a simple heading, explanation of constitutional morality. ठीक है? The same thing कि George. History of Greece. Now the only difference will be this is the core demand now. So we won't be using a diagrammatic representation, rather we use it or we will write it into the point format. Okay.
So basically, when the questions are repeated in the upcoming examinations, it is just the themes that are being redirected as whether implicit or explicit demand.
Yes.
Then accordingly, we have to write the answer.
As per the demand, you have to structure your answer.
Yes, sir.
It is a rare and difficult sentiment. It involves, you give those 3 points. Reverence for forms and procedures of Constitution. Can you give me one example for reference for forms and procedures of the Constitution? Yes.
Rule of law.
Give me some sort of procedure.
Ordinance making procedure.
Procedure established by law under Article 21.
Okay.
That is the biggest one now. Rather than ordinance, the more value or more relevant is that. Okay. So procedure. You have to write with me. I'm emphasizing again and again. Established by law. See, write 600 answers with me. आपके जो भी 4 GS papers है, out of 79 questions, at least 50 to 55 questions के demands और themes यही रहने वाले हैं. or minimum of the, not even 55 to 50 or 55. Write these 600 answers with me, and I guarantee out of 79 questions that you will be writing in 2026, minimum of 60 to 65 questions will be based upon the same theme, and you will be using the same content. Okay. By law under Article 21. Okay. Second, adherence to law while enabling open criticism of authority. Okay. And third, need for public reason, self-restraint, and trust in institutions. Okay. This part, or you can also write ये जो मैंने दिया था, pillars of constitutional morality, ये जो pillars या फिर key elements दिए, you can write these also. Both are fine. Okay. Then comes the next part, which is application to ensure the balance between judicial accountability and independence. Okay. So application in balancing judicial accountability and independence. Okay, so now you tell me how you are going to generate the points. Yes. Yes.
We can mention the cases, right? Like for example, Navtesh Singh Zohar case and all. Ki how?
No. This is with respect to the judiciary as an institution. Okay.
We can start with NJAC.
Okay, but how you are going to generate the points?
Under the removal procedure, how can removal of judges of the Supreme Court? There are checks on that.
Okay, with respect to the appointment, that's fine. Okay, what else? Okay, so see, these kinds
Condition of
of
service.
the applied questions. Okay, what you have to use is first focus upon the words accountability. What are the key pillars of accountability?
The custodian of fundamental rights.
No.
Sir, natural law of justice.
Tell me in general, what are the pillars of accountability?
Sir, first thing is natural law of justice.
Judges on the violation of constitution.
I am not asking about the judiciary. I am asking about principles of accountability.
Answerable to the people.
Separation of powers.
Okay, answerability.
So judicial review restraints that are mentioned in certain cases.
I am not
It
asking
cannot be
about the judiciary. I am asking about the accountability as such. One is answerability. Second, transparency. What else?
Responsibility.
Scrutiny.
Non-partial.
Okay.
Non-partial.
Non-partiality. Okay.
Sir, that non-partiality can be directly mentioned the natural law of justice, sir.
Yes.
So all
And what about the independence?
Constitutionalism per se. Judiciary is subject to the Constitution.
So that is the one way where you will be getting these three headings. Okay. The second aspect you will be generating the points is with respect to the functions of judiciary. So what are the functions of judiciary? One, with respect to the appointments. Second, with respect to the conduct of judges. Third, with respect to the review. Right. Fourth, with respect to the interpretation of the Constitution. Right. What else?
Custodian of the Constitution.
Jurisdiction in center-state relations.
Yes, that is with respect to the separation of power. Okay. So on the basis of these itself, we will generate the points. ठीक है, जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल अब ये पॉइंट्स हो गए. सेकंड, अकाउंटेबिलिटी के हमारे कौन से पॉइंट्स हो गए? आंसरेबिलिटी, ठीक है, विच विल कम इनटू द कंडक्ट. सेकंड, ट्रांसपेरेंसी. ठीक है. नाउ यू सी वी विल राइट द पॉइंट्स फ्रॉम दीज पर्सपेक्टिव्स ओनली. अब ये सिंपल है, दीज पॉइंट्स आर सिंपल. ठीक है. नाउ फर्स्ट, now what they have asked how it balances accountability and independence. So basically you have to establish the balance, that is the contrast.
Sir, can we also include a rule of law?
Yes, you can. No, rule of law can't be, because it is from the perspective of the judiciary. Rule of law can be added. You can now see how I am structuring the first point. That is with respect to the
natural justice.
Can we separate both the points? Judicial accountability separately,
No.
judicial separately.
If they have asked for the comparison, then only you separate. Here what they have asked about the balancing. So there will be a single elaboration where you are establishing the balance.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So one, in judicial appointments. Okay. So preserving judicial independence. Independence ka you need to add the synonym primacy. That is NJAC case. Preserving judicial primacy, okay, while ensuring transparency in collegium system. ये हो गया आपका बैलेंस. ठीक है, क्लियर है? सेकंड, conduct of judges. Right. So judicial independence with respect to the conduct of judges, that is freedom from executive and legislative pressures while ensuring, you can say, accountability or scrutiny for misconduct. Example, what was the case with respect to the impeachment? Yes, the recent one is there, but along with the recent one, you also have the Veeraswamy case of 1991.
Sir, can we mention this Judges Inquiry Act?
Yes, Judges Inquiry Act. Recent, the cash scandal involving the Allahabad High Court judge also you can mention. Okay. Third.
Sir, Yashwant Verma case?
Yes, that is the one. Allahabad SC judge. Okay. Judicial review. Right. So how judicial review ensures this? That is the yes.
Constitutionality of the legislature laws, constitutionality of.
Okay, need balance of both. Okay, how independence, you have to link independence and accountability.
It promotes procedure established by law, provided that it does not affect the basic structure.
No, that is both the independence. Simple now. Striking unconstitutional, or you can simply mention check on legislative and executive overreach. What can be the example of this? You can talk about the Puttuswamy judgment or Aadhaar judgment or Shreya Singhal case. right, which invalidated section 66A of article 66A of IT Act. So Shriya, single case. NJSC we have already explained. You can check on legislative executive overreach while exercising judicial restraint. Okay. Next, you can talk about this transparency. अब answerability का तो aspect हो गया in contempt of judges. So with respect to the transparency, ensuring transparency. Can you give me the example of judicial transparency? Yes.
The live recording
Sir,
which they are doing right now.
Open court proceedings.
वो तो
So
पहले से ही है.
administrative function of court comes under the state.
No.
The article.
So regarding the appointment of judges procedure.
No, there is no transparency in appointment of judges.
Publishing dissent. When a judge gives a
Again,
dissent.
that was from the beginning only, and that is not
All,
the case
office
of transparency.
and all India Judicial
Yes,
Services.
office of what?
CJI and RTI.
Yes, office of CJI under the RTI. What is the most fundamental instrument of transparency in India? RTI. Okay, this basic conceptual knowledge you need to have. What was the case with respect to the transparency? Or with respect to RTI?
Shubham Agrawal.
Yes, Subhash Agrawal. Okay. So, office of CJI under the ambit of RTI. Okay. So this aspect also is done. Transparency. Appointment conduct review is done. Okay. What else? We have just 4 points. We need more. Yes. Similarly, one more function of the the judiciary. Okay. Or one more power of judiciary, which is very sorry.
Delivering judgment on cases.
One more
Opinion,
power.
giving opinion to president.
Listen to me.
Sir, is it Article 143?
142 and 141 can be added. Okay, that will come under judicial restraint. But one most controversial power of
123.
judiciary
136.
is contempt power. Okay. So contempt power. So contempt power preserves preserving, or we can write constitutional morality, ensures, balances. The contempt power ka justification is dignity of the judiciary, right? Dignity of judiciary and tolerance to criticism. Okay. What else? Sixth. Yes.
But how does contempt promote accountability?
It doesn't. Contempt power are aimed at independence.
How does
Right.
it balance
But
accountability?
restraint on the contempt powers. That is, there are judicial guidelines now with respect to the contempt powers.
Okay.
So restraint on the contempt powers ensures accountability of the judiciary. Okay. One more important function of the judiciary, okay, that is with respect to the PIL. ठीक है, तो जैसे, or you can also talk about this key access to the access and timely justice. So first,
Then Article 13
EIL.
and Article 36 approaching the Supreme Court for enforcing fundamental rights.
Yes, that also, but it is with respect to the independence of judiciary. Okay.
Yes, but it's mandatory that they accept those cases, so that promotes accountability.
Oh, yes.
It's not a choice like it is with the High Court.
Yes, yes. Yep. Ensures access to justice for marginalized okay. This you can add one example, that is the first PIL Husaina Khatun case on under trials.
So can we also refer curative petition?
Curative petition, but how does it? Curative petition also you can add. Yes.
Sir, can we add Lok Adalat?
Hmm?
Lok Adalat. Can we?
Abdul Kalam?
Lok Adalat.
Lok Adalat, how it is related to the independence? Okay. Last.
Prevent corrupt practices in elections.
That is not with respect to the judicial independence. You simply write public trust.
Yeah.
Okay. कैसे? Judicial independence ensures rule of law, whereas judicial accountability ensures, yes, public confidence in judicial. Right. If you see, we have already written the one important aspect of the constitutional morality is trust in institutions. Okay. So public trust will also come. So this is how you needed to generate the points. Okay. And then the same 80-20 rule, you add the two issues and two way forwards.
So from my point of view, most of these seem in alignment of judicial accountability. Where do we include the individual accountability aspect in the balancing bit?
What they have asked, have they asked the individual accountability or judicial accountability?
I think the question is balancing both of them together, right?
Balancing judicial accountability and judicial independence. It is not individual independence. Follow the first rule very properly, that is reading the question twice.
Yeah.
That. Yeah. So this part clear. The 20% rule will apply and you can add this. The same will be there. Okay. Next, the most significant achievement of modern law in India.
Sir, can I ask one question related to the previous one?
Okay.
Yeah, and under the heading of checks on citizen,
Yes.
if you see point 2 and point 3,
Okay.
yeah, point 2 and point 3 seem very similar. It's like just paraphrasing.
Yes.
Will it be counted as like repetition of points or?
No. That is the smart work that you have to do. Okay. When you have the lack of content, this is what you have to do. You have to play with the words. Okay.
So
now,
the main challenge that we face while writing in mains is because right now we are brainstorming. We have time, we can generate points and we can,
Yes.
but over there you will get like 2 or 3 points which everyone has. And after that, you don't have the time to brainstorm. So if you have any kind of framework where we can remember all the decisions, or we just have to memorize it all and then reproduce.
Not memorize. You write these 600 answers with me. Automatically, your vocabulary will also be developed. Okay, so see, generating the 2 points on the same theme with different wordings require the vocabulary. Okay, if you have seen the one video of Shakti Dubey, she has clearly said that as far as ethics is concerned, in ethics, what she had done is she had compiled the synonyms for all the keywords. And she has just ensured that the integrity word has come only once or twice in her answers. Baki jaga synonyms. Same thing we'll be doing here, and that requires development of the vocabulary. You write these 600 answers with me, your vocabulary will be developed. Okay, same thing I discussed with Archit also. When Archit was taking the sessions on the X Factor, during that time also we had a lot of discussions. He also told me the same thing. He had a good vocabulary because his optional was philosophy. Okay, that.
सर वोकैबुलरी पार्ट ठीक है, बट जैसे कुछ टेक्निकल चीजें अब जुडिशियल डिसीजंस वगैरह, तो इसके अंदर तो अगर आपको उस समय याद नहीं आ रहे, if you're not able to strike them, you cannot take time to remember all this.
No, you need to remember, you need to mug up. Factual things you need to mug up.
और ये जो पॉइंट्स वोकैबुलरी से रिलेटेड है उसके अंदर कोई वैसा फ्रेमवर्क नहीं कर सकते, जैसे सपोज अपन कोई
Everything
जेनरिक
doesn't
आंसर लिख
have
रहे
the
हैं.
framework. Okay, this is not the mechanical thing where the framework or the code will work. It will give you the dimensions, but after that you have to play it smart. अगर framework से apply करना होता तो हर toppers के answers same ही होते. They will be having the same frameworks and same kind of the answers. Right? This is social science, not natural science. So codes, etc. works 100% in those. Right? Here you with using the frameworks and these keywords from the question, you need to derive the points. Doing brainstorming. Okay. Okay. Now this question.
So
Just
for the last,
relax.
so
This is just the second answer that we have written. We will be writing 600 answers. Automatically, gradually, it will be developed. Okay. So now,
for the last question, you mentioned that 20% part. Is that the same that we have written in the first
yes,
question?
because it is also related to the judiciary.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the same will come. No, that's why I
Okay.
haven't written again. Because see, at
Okay.
least it's 6 and 6:30 and we have finished just 2 questions. Okay, it's completely fine. It is just the first lecture, but we need to target 10 questions in 2 hours. Okay, from the next session. So the second question, the most significant achievement of the modern law in India is the constitutionalization of the environmental problems by Supreme Court. Discuss this statement with the help of relevant case laws. Okay. So what is the core demand of this particular question? Yes.
Cases related to, or the history of cases involving.
Okay, so now it is 6:28. Okay. I am giving you 7 minutes. So by 6:35, you write the answers. And in the next 5 minutes, I will discuss this. Yes, you note down the question and you write the answer. Yes, you have 7 minutes. You can apply the 80-20 rule. Okay. So how many of you were able to fill both the pages? Just raise your hands. Yes. Rohit. Okay, just 1, 2, 3. Tanmay 4. Okay, only 4. 1, 5. Good. Nitik. Snail. Priyanka. Good. Total 8, 9. Good. Okay. So 98. How many of you were able to fill at least one page? Yes. At least one page. Okay, fine. Chalo. Now, if you see, okay, the first of all, let's just brainstorm over it. First part is the most significant achievement of modern law in India is the constitutionalization of the environmental problems by Supreme Court, discussed with the help of relevant case laws. Okay. So first, introduction. So again, as it is not a concept-based question, there won't be any definition. So we are left with just 2 options. One, we can give article of the Constitution, that is 21 and we can mention the one of the case. Okay, but we have to explain that in the main body also. Okay, so we can simply mention just article. The
We can
second aspect is we can start with the quote.
We can mention fundamental duties and directive principles of state policy related to environment.
Not constitutionalization of environmental problems by Supreme Court बोला है उन्होंने.
We can include Article 21, right to life.
Yes, so you can mention Supreme Court has expanded the scope of environmental rights under Article 21. Okay, that can be one generic introduction, which trust me, 99% of the aspirants will write. That's a generic one. But the second one is the quote-based introduction, which hardly 1% of the aspirants will write. And ये मैंने already constitution इसमें दिया है in our notes, the very first, on the significance of the Constitution. The Constitution is not mere lawyer's document. It is vehicle of life. Its spirit is always the spirit of age. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. You simply write this quote, and after that you just link it with the theme of the question, that in constitutionalization of environmental problems embodies or is the embodiment of this spirit. This is your connecting statement. Done. Your introduction is done. Okay, how many of you have given the quote-based introduction? Okay. One. Okay, good. Okay, so the topper level introduction would be a quote-based introduction. Second, after the introduction, how many of you have directly switched to the case laws? Yes. Okay, anyone who hasn't given or who has not directly shifted to the case laws but has written something else? So introduction.
I made a heading about constitutionalism, constitutionalization of environmental problems. So I made a heading and gave points under that.
But that will be the judgments only, no?
Sir,
I gave points like NGT and Article 21 and judgments I gave later.
That is not relevant.
Sir, I gave
Question
impact
is
of
about by Supreme Court.
Sir, how constitutionalization will benefit.
Not benefit. Again, they haven't.
I gave by how constitutionalization of this will benefit.
No,
it
not
will be legal protection.
Not benefit.
Significant achievements.
Not achievements. You simply have to give constitutionalization.
So I have written how we have like environmental legislation and how we need constitutional.
Not legislation. They haven't asked. Question is strictly related to the judiciary. Constitutionalization of environmental problems by Supreme Court.
Sir, I've written legislation and why we need Supreme Court.
You don't need to write the legislation. What you have to write is constitutionalization of environmental problems is done through what methods has been used by the Supreme Court.
Judicial activism.
Yes.
PILs.
Not judicial activism, rather than that, expansion of Article 21, PIL.
Continuous
Use of
mandamus.
Powers, yes, continuous mandamus.
So I began my answer by mentioning the expansion of Article 21.
Yes, so that is what the 99% of the aspirants will do. Right. So again, I am not saying it is wrong. That's completely fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So mandamus. One more is use of
142.
Article
Suo moto power.
142. Yes, suo moto cognizance also you can write. Or innovation of doctrines. Okay.
So can we not include NGT in this?
Not NGT. This is not NGT is not done by the Supreme Court. Question के
Sir,
theme को समझो ना.
DPSP 51 EG.
Again, is it done by the judiciary?
Sir, implementation of
Read the question. So you can talk about in expansion of Article 21. You can also talk about interpretation of DPSP and fundamental duty. In that point you can write yes.
So tribunals are supposed to be quasi-judicial, no?
Question is about the Supreme Court. Are tribunal Supreme Court? Why are you not understanding the core demand of the question? They have
What?
specifically mentioned constitutionalization of the environmental problems by Supreme Court. So your points has to be limited to the Supreme Court. It can't be executive actions. It can't be legislative actions. It can't be the actions of High Court. It can't be the actions of tribunals. It can't be any constitutional provision. Is it clear? अब मत पूछना मुझे. Haven't they specifically mentioned problems by Supreme Court? Right, and these points are sufficient. And then you go to this relevant case laws. Okay. So how many of you have written the relevant case laws as subheadings? Or who hasn't written the case laws as subheadings? Who hasn't written the case laws as subheading? The one way, which is the most common way, will be writing the points as per the case laws. The second way is you can classify your points under the environmental problems. What are the major environmental problems? Yes, climate change, right? Industrial pollutions. What else?
Noise pollution.
Noise pollution. What else? Water pollution.
The air pollution.
Fifth, biodiversity. Preservation. Sixth,
Will the
developmental
recent street dog problem also come?
issues. Yes. Developmental issues. These are your environmental problems. These you make as the subheading, and under it you write the judicial decisions related to that particular environmental problem. So this is how your answer will, or this is how you can write a better answer. Okay. So introduction, you can start with the quote. That is, Constitution is not mere a lawyer's document, it is vehicle of life. Or if you want brief, you can reduce this part. Constitution is a vehicle of life and its spirit is always the spirit of age. Ambedkar, and constitutionalization of environmental problems under Article 21 is embodiment of this spirit. ठीक है, अब ये इंट्रोडक्शन याद रखना है. इसके बाद आपका जेंडर का क्वेश्चन है या फिर ऐसे कोई भी क्वेश्चन पूछा, दिस कैन बी योर स्टैंडर्ड इंट्रोडक्शन. ओनली दिस पार्ट विल चेंज. ठीक है, नाउ द मेथड्स यूज्ड. सो एक्सपांशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 21, ये आपको फ्लो चार्ट करके निकालना है ब्रीफली. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट पार्ट इज वन वे ऑफ डूइंग इट इज दिस, यू सिंपली राइट द जजमेंट्स. सेकंड, you can classify under the different environmental problems. Okay, the recent MK Ranjit Singh. So you should ideally write this as the first point because this is the most recent. It's climate change. Okay, so what are the environmental problem? Again, these are very simple. Industrial pollution, water pollution, air pollution, deforestation, climate change, biodiversity or natural resources, developmental projects. Right. This.
Sir, how many case laws should we write?
जितने आपको है. Ideally, after this,
minimum कितने चाहिए? Minimum इतने होने चाहिए.
Minimum should be 6.
10 markers में.
Not 10 marker में for this particular question. See, ideally, one formula I am giving you that I have observed throughout the toppers, jinke the dimensions that they write and the marks they get. So ideally, whatever dimensions that you are covering in the answer, ठीक है, considering all these dimensions are relevant. ठीक है, ऐसे मत कहो कि कोई भी पॉइंट लिख के और मार्क्स ना आने पे मुझे बोलो. Relevant dimensions I am talking about, you get 0.45 or sorry 45 to 50% of it. So suppose you are writing 12 points on an average, okay, you will get around 6 marks. अगर आपका average 10 to 11 का है, you will get, sorry, not 50 but around 45%. If you are writing 10 points in 10 marker question, you will get 4.5. If you are writing 12, you will get 5 to 5.25. Okay, that is the simple formula which we have come up with. और ये मैंने ऑब्जर्व भी किया है in the toppers also.
So is it like अपन अगर 10 केस लॉज लिखेंगे तो एक्स्ट्रा मार्क्स मिल रहे हैं या फिर 6 और 10 में सेम ही मिल रहे हैं?
6 और 10 में सेम कैसे मिलेंगे? As long as they are relevant, all the 10 case laws are relevant, you might end up getting 6 marks for it. And 6 points, even if they are relevant, you won't go beyond 5. Okay, that's as simple as that. Okay, ये clear है? Any doubt in this particular structuring of the answer? Because
What does the word discuss imply?
डिस्कस जनरली जैसे मैंने कहा कि नॉर्मल सेंस में अगर आप देखोगे तो वर्ड डिस्कस इंप्लाइज you just explain this particular statement. Okay, but the recent trend has been, if you see the answer copies of even Shruti Sharma, Aditya Srivastav, okay, what they have done is, even with the directive discuss or explain, they have applied 80-20 rule where they are going beyond the demand for 20%. That is very briefly, and where even if this is the demand, they are highlighting the issues and way forward. बस दो ही दे रहे हैं. Because in this particular question also at the end, suppose if you don't have the case studies much, if you don't have the case laws much, at the end you can simply make a table, challenges, issues, issues and way forward. दो ही लिखने हैं बस, and it will be same. Judicial overreach, this example, ban on firecrackers, ठीक है? Then poor implementation of judgments, that, and the way forward, it will be, one is judicial restraint, second, this collaboration between judiciary, executive and legislature. ठीक है, ये दो way forward आप दे सकते हो. And at the end, conclusion, again, this is the common conclusion which you can use for Article 21. Okay, Justice P.N. Bhagwati observed, right to life includes a right to live with human dignity, which is inseparable from, you link it with the theme, environment. अब environment की जगह दूसरा भी उन्होंने gender पूछ लिया, same can be your conclusion. ठीक है, कि right to life includes right to live with human dignity, which is inseparable from gender justice or rights of women. ठीक है, ये clear है? Okay, the next question. Just make sure कि आप, you are attending all the lectures, you are writing the answers with me. Gradually, you will also learn to write these topper level of the answers. Nothing, first lecture में नहीं आने वाला है. Even after first 4 lectures also, you won't be able to write the answers of जो मैं दिखा रहा हूँ. ठीक है, but gradually it will be developed because you will be listening to the same points. अगर आज के ही इसमें देखोगे तो judgments मैंने जितने बोले हैं, ठीक है, again those are repeated. Now NJSC nobody will forget, Sabrimala nobody will forget, Navteej Singh Johar nobody will forget. ठीक है, then जो हमने cases लिखे हैं आज के, ठीक है, so this is how the content will be built and retention will increase in your subconscious mind also. ठीक है, that.
Good evening, sir. Sir, can I ask a question about
अभी
this?
lecture के बाद, because I need to finish the questions. ठीक है, now no doubts, just simply writing the answers. ठीक है, now this particular question, explain the constitutional perspective of gender justice with the help of relevant constitutional provisions and case laws. Okay, so again this is a straightforward question where they have asked the explain. Again we can apply the 80-20 rule where 20 is or 20% is subjective, या फिर it's on our discretion. ठीक है, अगर लिखना है तो issues way forward लिखेंगे, otherwise नहीं, if because question में already 2 separate headings आएंगे. ठीक है, now tell me what will be the introduction in this particular question. How many of you think that we can use the same introduction as the previous question? Quote based introduction कितने लोगों को लगता है कि we can use the same introduction as of next question? Yes.
Sir, this question has the scope of introducing data in the introduction, I think.
Okay. Data. ठीक है, what else?
Here
one
there
is
are
the-
many articles.
One
that
is the quote, one is the data,
You
one
can
is the
introduce law.
article. ठीक है, इसके beyond किसको लगता है कि these all 3 are less relevant? ठीक है, anyone who thinks that, just
Recent
raise your
case.
hand. Just raise your hand. Yes.
Sir,
Anyone?
So can we also define basically what gender justice is?
Why we need to define?
Sir, any recent case that is going on
No.
as an introduction?
What was the first thing that I told you? Why did we define the constitutional morality in introduction?
Because that was the concept.
This is also the concept now.
So that is what I said. No, we can
Yes,
define it
exactly.
in the first one.
So because the directive is
Definition.
used in the first place.
No, nothing related to the directive. The
We
question
This
contains
is the
the
theme, so we have to define it.
yes, question contains the concept. So you have to start with the definition of it. ठीक है, and again जो ऐसे core concepts होते हैं, so there while giving the definition, try to mention the source of the definition. ठीक है, so as per अगर source नहीं पता है, you make up the source. ठीक है, UN women. Sorry.
So we cannot make up the source randomly, no?
Not randomly. It is related to the gender, so you can talk about the UN women. Okay. If it is about the inclusive development, you can use the World Bank or you can use the UNDP. Right. If it is about the sustainable development, you can use the UNEP. Okay, or World Economic Forum, या फिर OECD. Okay. On this list, you know the organizations, you can define it. Okay. So gender justice entails yes, ending the inequalities between men and women that are produced and reproduced. Okay. In the family, community, society, market, and state. This is the definition of the gender justice given by the this UN woman. So you can use this standard definition. Okay. What else? After this, what can you do? Or what should you do?
Case laws.
Okay. What else? Case laws.
Cons-
Before that, they ask constitutional
The
provisions.
Constitutional
constitutional
provisions.
Right. So constitutional provisions.
provisions.
shouldn't we address constitutional perspective of gender justice before that?
That is what we are doing, the constitutional provisions. Constitutional perspective is given in constitution itself.
But the perspective involves difference between gender and sex, no?
That is not given in Indian constitution.
Okay.
Hmm.
But case laws have mentioned that.
So in case laws, in the second part, when you go, you give the case laws.
Okay.
Okay. So constitutional perspective or constitutional provisions. What are the constitutional provisions?
Equality before law. Article 14.
Preamble.
Always remember, if you
Article
want to,
Question right. Preamble.
listen, if you want to write good answers, always remember one fundamental principle of the topaz answers, that is the classification. And the best example of it is the Shruti Sharma answers.
We can divide into political justice.
Yes,
economic justice.
not political, economic, etc. You can do it from the different pillars of the justice. The political justice, economic justice, social justice, environmental justice. Okay. So from that perspective also you can do. The second way is you classify the constitutional provisions itself. Just say we did it into the very first question. So on the constitutional morality, we didn't just do this. Here, if we see we didn't give just constitutional provision, we provide the classification. Right. So here also you can provide that. So fundamental rights, you give the subheading, under it you write 2 to 3 provisions. DPSP, you write 1 or 2 provision. Fundamental duty, you write 1 or 2 provision. And other provisions karke you can write the points. This is 73rd, 74th amendment. Okay, always remember the principle if you can classify the points. Okay, so the one way of doing it is Okay. So the first. So shall I write or shall I just show you the model answer because it's completely static? Is it fine if I show you the model answer?
Sir, if
Yes,
the
sir.
model
Yes,
answer is exactly the thing that you are going to write, then it's
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
We
Word to
can
word.
save the time.
Yes. Okay. So if you
We
see,
can just discuss that.
so this here I have given the proper classification. Okay. So for this particular answer, you will end up getting at least 6 marks because of the dimensions and the classification that you have provided. And this is the second way. In this particular question, what I have tried to do is basically I have tried to provide this one is I have used 80-20 rule. And second, I have basically tried to establish the difference between the beginner and topper. So if you see, this is the introduction that a beginner will write. Just definition, simple. But a topper, when he gives the definition, he will mention the source. Okay. Second thing that you will be doing is he will simply write the points. Okay. But what you can do here is you can highlight the different pillars of the gender justice. So political justice. Which one of the following, which one of these points will come into the political justice?
73 and 74.
This
So
Article
resolution.
14.
73rd, 74. Okay. Then
Can we write 106?
economic justice, yes.
15 clause 3.
106th also you can write. Nari Shakti Adhiniyam. I haven't added it because it has not been enforced yet. Okay. What is the economic justice?
39D and 42.
39A.
What else?
39D.
15
Equal for equal work.
Yes, this also you can add. 15 and 16 also.
So Article 42.
42
maternity
also.
benefits.
Yes. 42 maternity relief. Okay. Third, these I have given it in point format. You simply use a flow chart. Okay. Third is social justice. So in social justice, you can link it this. Okay. This and this. Okay. These. Or you can also write then environmental justice, where you can mention the recent judgment, right to clean environment as the fundamental right under Article 21. Okay. Then you come to the case laws. Simply just list down these case laws. ठीक है जैसे वही case laws है अगर आप देखोगे तो all these we have already discussed. One, Sabrimala judgment, that is Indian Young Lawyers Association. Shaira Bano, Instant People Talaq. ठीक है Shah Bano, right to maintenance, though it was later withdrawn. Then this is the marital rape related. ठीक है the Lakshmi case with respect to acid attack victims. Vishakha, all of you know. ठीक है Joseph Shine, adultery.
बचपन बचाओ आंदोलन
ठीक है yes बचपन बचाओ आंदोलन also can write.
So we haven't addressed the LGBTQ community also.
That also you can write. Yes. Navtej Singh Johar also you can mention.
NALSA.
NALSA, sorry. ठीक है. That also you can mention. Anuj Garg, this. Air India, that one. And there was one recent case also with respect to the permanent commission for women. I'm not able to recall the exact name of the judgment.
Lieutenant Colonel Nitisha. Colonel Nitisha case.
ठीक है.
Permanent commission.
You just note it down. No? That you just search it and add that. That is also one
Babita Punia
important.
case?
Sorry?
Babita Punia.
That also you can add. Yes, Babita. Right, Babita case. Yes. Permanent commission. Okay, that. And then you apply the 80-20 rule. So challenges, again, the patriarchal mindset. Agar judiciary judgments related challenges, if you have seen in previous question also, we have talked about that. That is the implementation gap. ठीक है. So implementation gap, there was a report that more than 80% of this Beti Bachao Beti Padhao funding has gone to the advertisement only. Then patriarchal mindset is reflected in Khap Panchayats. You can also talk about honor killings in Haryana. Okay. Then violence against women. These two are sufficient. Okay. या फिर you can also talk about Sarpanch Pati. Okay. And then you just give the way forward. And this is one of your fact file. Okay. Just remember this ranking. India's rank in recent gender gap report. Okay, is 131 out of 148. Just remember, you can just put it as a fact file. Then way forward, again, implementation gap, effective implementation of POSH Act, Dowry Prohibition Act. Okay. Then judicial responsiveness, that is fast track courts. These two are the important case studies. Okay. Generally, one rule we follow in the society and social justice and governance is that while giving the way forward, we try to add one global best practice, one state level best practice. Okay. So this is the one important formula that we use. So you can also highlight this Bibipur model of Haryana. Okay. That is naming streets after the daughters to promote recognition. And the second is Tamil Nadu's model to address cyberbullying and harassment. Okay, you just note it down, you write it, you just box it. And these 2 points itself are going to give you extra 0.25 marks. ठीक है. And then अब पूरे आंसर में हमारा स्कॉलर नहीं था. ठीक है. So we concluded with the quote. I measure the progress of the community by the degree of progress that women have achieved. ठीक है. Is it clear? Yes.
Yes.
ठीक है. Okay. So shall we do one more question? Yes.
Yes, sir.
One last. Okay. So next topic. So just make sure that after the session, you are reading the notes, this nature of the constitution, जो भी हमने notes में से use किया है. ठीक है. The best way of utilizing the notes is doing the active reading. ठीक है. Active reading कैसे होता है कि as soon as you read the point, suppose you read the quote, okay, immediately you need to think, okay, where can I use this particular point? Or where can I use this quote? Don't do the passive reading. Do the active reading. Okay, that. Then you have the stoppers answers also of the constitutionalism. You can refer these also. Next topic is the salient features. Okay, so salient features may preamble and the important provisions given in the preamble. Okay, that is the socialism. I have given the conceptual clarity. You can get a 10 marker question from this. Okay. Secularism. Secularism पे तो question expected है. So you try to cover the secularism. SC judgments, way forward. Justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. ठीक है. And one important aspect, अब यहाँ तक अभी तक उन्होंने क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा है. The last question that they asked on the preamble was in 2015. But this year, if you see, there was a lot of debate with respect to this part. Debate on inclusion of secularism and socialism in preamble. Okay. So this was in news in this particular year. ठीक है. तो next year अभी और ये न्यूज में रह सकता है, तो this topic at least you have to cover properly. बाकी के जो भी मैंने कंटेंट दिया है, just try to read it, don't mug it up, no need. ठीक है. यहाँ से you need to do the proper revision for this particular topic. This is very important. It can be asked in the next year. ठीक है.
Like after reading, like how one reading will be able to memorize it. No.
No, try to understand the concept, no? Okay. So just understand. Now you have understood the context. Recently, there has been the debate with respect to the inclusion of secularism and socialism under the preamble of the Indian Constitution. Okay, or relevance of secularism and socialism under the preamble. So this itself becomes your introduction. Agar question aa gaya, to that it can be your contextual introduction. Okay. The second, the origin of it, 42nd Amendment. Okay. So 42nd Amendment during emergency added the words. That can be your introduction. अब just you need to read the arguments in favor, arguments against. That's it. Okay. That, and this is the recent Supreme Court judgment where Supreme Court has upheld inclusion of socialism and secular in the preamble of the Constitution. Okay. So this much you have to do. And last is the separation of power. Again, separation of power is one of the core theme of the salient features of Indian Constitution. In last 5 years itself, I think they have asked the question on separation of power once or twice. Not last 5 years, last 10 years. So separation of power is one of the favorite topic of the UPSC. Okay. So in recent years, one is the separation of power. Second is the amendment. So amendment we learn in the parliament chapter, but ये दो पे consistently question आया. ठीक है. So separation of power, again, this can be your introduction. Don't just mention Montesquieu, try to mention his book. And these principles can be your contextual part. Okay, so after the introduction, जैसे हमने previous questions में दिया था, the conceptual part of it, you just provide the classification of principles of separation of power, exclusivity principle, functional principle, checks and balance principle, mutuality principle. ठीक है, ये just flow chart बनाओ, that's it. ठीक है, that will add more value. ठीक है, next कि whenever you are explaining the separation of power between the separation of power under Indian Constitution, always classify under these. Don't simply write the points. Okay, so separation between legislature and executive, separation between legislature and judiciary, and separation between judiciary and executive. Similarly, checks and balances bhi jab aap karoge. Okay, one of the topper answer that I read, it was very innovative. Ki how far do you think that Indian Constitution is based upon checks and balances? He used the diagrammatic representation. Okay, how? He simply did this judiciary, executive. He draw the whole page diagram, and legislature this. So judiciary controlling executive, executive controlling judiciary, this. Like this. Okay, so here he wrote the points on legislature checking the judiciary, here judiciary checking the legislature. ऐसे उसने points लिखे थे. So that was one of the innovative way. You can also follow that. या फिर अगर ऐसे circular नहीं करने, you can make it triangular also. Okay, legislature, executive, judiciary. Make the arrows. That's it. Okay, and here you can write the points. ऐसे भी you can do. Third way of doing it is this, this, this. Okay, so these are your separation of powers, and these are checks. Okay, ऐसे भी you can do. Okay, if you decide to do the innovative way. Okay, and then for conclusion, Kesavananda Bharti founded on the bedrock of balance between three organs of the state. Okay, this can be your conclusion. Now, I think separation of power may there are multiple questions you can also get. This is on the preamble by, this is the answer of Arpit. You can also read this. DPSP. ठीक है. And this is with respect to the fundamental right. Fundamental right we will do in the next session. Okay. Now the last question that we will be doing. Okay, again it is on the separation of power itself. Okay. So do you think that Constitution of India does not accept the principle of strict separation of power? Rather, it is based upon the principle of checks and balances explained. So now you tell me what is the directive in this particular question. Yes. What is the directive in this particular question?
So instead of watertight compartmentalization is in USA Constitution, it's in functional overlap in Indian Constitution.
I am asking what is the directive in this particular question. I am not asking the demand of this question.
The checks and balances part.
Directive means what is the word?
Do you think? Opinion.
Sir,
Explain
do
is
you
the
think?
directive, or do you think
And
is
do
the
you
directive?
think is the directive? Yes, sir.
Do you think?
Okay, then why not explain?
Explain is the directive.
Sir, if you answer, do you think automatically will be explained that?
So the basic directive of this particular question is, do you think? Okay, so even if they remove the word explain, that won't change the structure. Okay, but if they remove this part, so that Constitution of India does not accept principle of strict separation of power, rather it is based upon principle of checks and balances. अगर इन्होंने ये part हटाया and if they just mention the explain, then your structure will change. Structure will change that Constitution does not accept principle of separation of power, rather based upon checks and balance. So checks and balance explain करने में आपका 80% weightage जाएगा, and counter argument, that is strict separation of power, it will take just 20%. Okay, but as they have mentioned, do you think? What is the formula we use for do you think?
50-50 or 60-40.
Yes. So 60-40. That is generally, do you think or do you agree or give your opinion? Generally, whenever such directives are there, what they do, basically these are the opinion-based questions. And opinion-based questions are generally based upon the contradiction. Okay. So in your answer, what you have to do is, you have to establish the contradiction. That is, you have to give the arguments in favor and arguments against. And 60-40 as in, generally whatever your opinion is, you give just a little more weightage to that part of the question. Okay. So in this question, what they are asked, Constitution of India does not accept strict principle of separation of power, rather based upon the principle of checks and balances. So what is the contradiction in this particular question?
Strict separation versus checks and balance.
Yes. So separation of power versus checks and balance. So आपके दो headings यही हो गए. ठीक है? This. So in this particular question also, the introduction, what will be the introduction?
So we can mention Ram Javaya Kapoor case.
Okay.
Where AC mentioned that Indian Constitution doesn't strictly, rigidly follow separation.
Okay, that is the one. But again, then introduction itself, you are giving the opinion. So your introduction itself is the conclusion of your answer.
So the theme is separation of power, so that would be the introduction.
Yes, so the same introduction that I have given into your answer, this into your notes, that is going to be your introduction. Okay. Separation of power is derived from Montesquieu's spirit of law, and it divides state power into legislature, executive, judiciary to prevent concentration and arbitrariness. Okay. So same introduction, you write. Separation of power is derived from Montesquieu's spirit of law. Okay. it divides power. Write it with me. Between legislature, executive, and judiciary. You write full form. Okay, to prevent concentration of power and arbitrary use of, or concentration and arbitrary use of power. Okay. Now, one interesting thing I'm giving you. So, in how many questions we have started with the this definition? In I think 3 questions. Take out of the 5 or 6 that we have written. So, if you see in the definition, okay, so 2 things that let's say if they ask you one concept where you are not able to define that particular concept, या फिर याद नहीं है, just remember 2 things. One, you just mention the stakeholders and the objective of that concept. आपका definition बन जाएगा. जैसे for example, separation of power, stakeholders are these 3, objective is this. ठीक है. Similarly, if you see gender justice or constitutional morality, ठीक है, what are the stakeholders? This what is the objective? Adherence to the core principles and spirit. Gender justice अगर देखोगे, that we have defined. What is gender justice? Oh. Ending the inequalities, that is the objective. Right? Produced and reproduced in family, community, market, state. These are the stakeholders. Okay, in simple words also, by as per UN Women, gender justice implies okay, reducing or eliminating the discrimination against the woman. Okay, that is the objective in so stakeholders, family, or in personal relationships, family, society, market, and state. Okay. Remember this simple framework. If you practice on it, you will be able to develop the introduction.
Gender justice is only about women or other communities also, like
other
LGBT?
communities also. Okay, LGBTQ is also involved.
Yes, sir, we have to mention that also.
Oh, you can mention, yes. Okay. SOP is derived from, this is your introduction part. What is the next?
Shouldn't we also talk about checks and balances in the introduction?
Where?
In the
You can
introduction.
give the connecting statement, yes. So that is what we will be doing, no? So what I told you from the notes, while giving the salient features, you talk about this. And in this, there is one principle of checks. Right. So this is your next part where you will be writing principles of polity. Okay. Right? Those 4 principles. What are these 4 principles? Yes. Anyone?
Functional overlapping.
Exclusivity. Okay. Example. Adjudication by judiciary. Or amendment by parliament also you can mention. Okay. Functionality. Okay. What is the third? Or functionality and boundaries. What is the third? Checks and balance. Okay. And mutuality. You can give one example, you can add one example, that is fine. Now, what they have done, do you think Constitution of India does not accept principle of strict separation of power? Okay, so how will you write this?
So what is the 4th point? Checks and balances and then?
Mutuality.
Okay, sir.
Given it into your notes. Okay. So mutuality basically means the Indian polity envisions a cooperation between the organs. Okay, there's a cooperation between legislature and executive, cooperation between judiciary and executive with respect to appointment, cooperation between judiciary and legislature with respect to the passage of the bills and amendments. That is the mutuality. Okay. Okay. Then what will be the next part?
So agreement to the strict separation and then
Yes,
disagreement.
first you highlight strict separation or SOP under Indian Constitution. Okay. So what will be the points?
Divide into executive, judiciary.
Yes, but before that, first Article 50. Okay. So separation of power as directive principle of state policy. Right.
But Article 50 just talks about judiciary and executive. Right?
Okay, so judiciary and executive. Okay. But it is about separation of power. No? Okay. Next, between judiciary and executive. Yes.
Judicial review.
Article
What is the
1,
checks and
21,
balance? No?
Article 50.
11.
Article 50.
Article 121 and 211.
What is 121?
So Article
Courts cannot
361.
What is 361?
So President governors immunity
Yes.
from court.
Immunity to president and governors. Article 361. What else?
Courts cannot incur into into legislative.
So contempt of court.
That is checks and balance, no? So between judiciary,
Parliamentary privilege ministers are not answerable.
that is between judiciary and
And
legislature.
legislature, yeah.
What are the this?
So Article 121 and 211 for
Okay.
legislate, and Article 122 and 211.
Article 121 and 211. What is that?
So legislature
Conduct
can
of judges cannot be discussed. What
So
else?
I think it's Article 122. Judges conduct cannot be discussed in Parliament.
No, Article 122 is court not to question the proceedings of the parliament. 122 and 212 barring courts from parliamentary proceedings.
So 105.
Parliamentary privileges also, yes. Okay. 105 and what is another one? 194. Yes. Just add 81 to it. Sorry, 89. 194. It is parliamentary privileges. Okay. Then next part, however, Constitution is based upon checks and balances in practice. Okay.
So here can we give statements like India hasn't approached the watertight separation of powers like American Constitution?
You can mention this. That also. Okay, that I was thinking of using it into the conclusion.
Okay.
So rather than watertight compartmentalization of the US, India has preferred the checks and balance system. Okay, I had one quote. So I'll talk in conclusion. Okay, now, how are you going to write checks and balances in practice? Yes. Just tell me the points.
Judicial review. Judicial review.
Okay.
Appointment by executive, but removal by appointment and removal.
Judicial review. Or how can you classify the points?
Like the triangle diagram you have mentioned.
That triangle diagram you can use. What else can you do?
Institutional.
So
We can divide it into judiciary and executive.
Generally, you classify your points as per the stakeholder या फिर आपके political, economic, social ऐसे aspects होंगे तो classification
Sir,
simply you do now. Checks
so
on
here we can.
judiciary. What are the checks on judiciary? Yes.
NJC.
Not
The
NJC.
Article
NJC is
61.
not the check.
President
Impeachment of judge.
Yes. What is the article for appointment of the judge?
124.
Yes. Article 124. Appointment of judges by president or by executive. What else?
Constitutional amendment.
So Article 61.
What is that?
Impeachment of judges.
Yes. Done. Parliamentary control through impeachment. What is the article? Yes.
61.
Okay. Are there any other checks?
So would the constitutional amendments be a relevant point?
No.
Ninth
You
still.
can mention it. Okay. So you can mention it like this: legislative. You can put it in this way. Reversal of SC judgments. Okay, what is the example where the legislature had changed or legislation was enacted to reverse the judgment of the Supreme Court?
24th Amendment Act.
Okay, one is that. Yes. What else? The very first Amendment Act. It
Yes,
was
first
enacted
amendment.
to reverse the, I think, Champakkam Dorai Rajan case.
But is this a limitation because the judiciary can anytime reverse?
No,
A
but
recent
again,
case,
How is this a check?
recent case of appointment of judges in which
No,
the
no, no.
Supreme Court in 2023 and
But that, see, I am asking how legislature gets upper hand over judiciary. How legislature control judiciary. So basically, if judiciary has given any order, legislature has enacted the act. The one example of it, the First Amendment Act.
in
The second
2023,
example of it is that the Supreme Court judgment on the appointment of Chief Election Commissioner. Right. What is the name of that case?
Anup Banwal.
Anup Banwal case. After that, Supreme Court has enacted, after that, Parliament has enacted the act. Right.
The SC/ST atrocity.
Yes, 2018 amendment to the SC/ST Atrocities Act. Right. It was done to reverse the Subhash Mahajan judgment of SC. It will add that example. Example 2018 amendment to Atrocities Act. ठीक है, पूरा लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है. To reverse Subhash Mahajan judgment. ठीक है,
So
SC Act.
so why is Article 61 written under checks on judiciary?
Because that is impeachment. So impeachment is done by the Parliament.
But it's impeachment of president.
No. Impeachment of the judges. What is the article? What is the article for removal of the judges?
So 120.
124 itself. Article 124. Okay. That is the checks on judiciary. Second aspect is checks on legislature.
Sir, is tribunal and presidential pardon also check on judiciary?
Presidential pardon is not. Presidential pardon is not the judicial power. It is executive power.
Okay.
Judiciary has clearly explained that.
And tribunals?
Tribunals, you can say.
Okay, sir.
Okay. But again, utna usme mat jao. Okay, because recently Supreme Court has given this judgment where the appeal against the tribunals can be done in the High Court. Okay. So again, wo aayega nahi. So checks on legislature. What are the checks on legislature? By judiciary, one is judicial review and basic structure, doctrine. What is the example of it?
Shreya Singhal.
Yes, Shreya Singhal.
And Jack.
NJC also. Okay. Puthuswamy also. Aadhaar judgment. Invalidation. Electoral bond judgment also. Section 66A of IT Act. To be precise. What is the other check on the legislature?
Assent to bills.
Okay.
Presidential veto.
Control through presidential veto. What else?
No confidence motion.
Ordinance power.
Summoning of the sessions. Ordinance. ठीक है, बस हो गया. What else? One very important aspect.
No confidence motion.
That is the check on executive, not on legislature. Yes. Yes. One more simple. You can say dissolution of the this Lok Sabha on the advice of Council of Minister or the Prime Minister. Right. That is also the example you can quote. These many are fine. Then third, checks on executive.
In the legislature part, can we include political whip?
Sorry?
The political whip.
Political?
The whip by the ruling party to control their party.
No, whip is given by all the parties. Okay, whip is basically a parliamentary mechanism. Okay, whip is not done by the executive, whip is done by the political party. Okay, so checks on executive, judicial checks through. Yes.
Writs.
Judicial activism.
Article 32 writs.
Article 32. What else?
142.
Yes. 142. What else?
Presidential reference.
That is not the check. Yes. Article 136. Special reference, this special leave petition, under which it has accepted the appeal against the interstate river water dispute tribunals. Right. And you give me one example of checks on executive.
Question, madam.
By judiciary, I am saying.
So mandamus, the ban on crackers.
Okay. Mandamus for
The guidelines, Vishaka guidelines,
Vishaka
Prakash Singh Act guidelines. Guidelines. Vishaka guidelines. Prakash.
Vishaka
sent that
guidelines,
one.
basically, they had the this power of law. So Vishaka guidelines basically acted as the law.
Sir,
that
the
liquor
judgment
shop,
on bulldozer justice.
You can say judgment on bulldozer justice. Okay,
so
what
liquor
else?
shop on highways,
Hmm?
a liquor shop on highways, Supreme
Vehicle?
Court prohibited. Liquor shops.
Liquor shop, yes.
The recent
Sir,
judgment on a governor.
the Tamil Nadu governor case.
That is again, Tamil Nadu governor case. Good.
Supreme Court's judgment on including Aadhaar
Veto.
as a
Yes.
means and intensive.
So SC judgment on veto powers of governor. ठीक है. What is
Central
the
Vigilance Commission.
legislative check?
No confidence motion.
Okay, here we will simply classify parliamentary instruments, or don't forget it. Question hour. What else?
No confidence motion.
Yes. What else?
Adjournment motion.
Adjournment motion.
Parliamentary committees.
Censor motion.
You just example of it is debate on farm laws.
So special majority on constitution. The
No
budget
confidence motion.
control over budget.
Give me the. I'm coming to that. No confidence motion example. Fall of Morarji Desai government. 1979. You also had the VP Singh government also fail. Deve Gowda government also fail after no confidence motion. Atal Bihari Vajpayee government also fail in 1998. So that examples you can quote. Third, budgetary control. Okay. What is the article? It is 108, right?
So that is for joint sitting.
No, then it is 110.
No, that's money bill.
112, sir.
112, right. And last, parliamentary committees. Example, Parliamentary Accounts Committee on this. What is that? 2G spectrum. Report on 2G spectrum.
So will CAG report also come in this?
Yes, CAG report. Parliamentary Account Committee is basically based upon CAG report only. No? Now, this is
And
this.
sir, one more thing, sir.
Mhm.
So where will we place executive legislation in this?
This is the checks on legislature by executive. Yes.
Okay, okay, sir.
Now, okay. Now what should we do after this? Yes.
So we have to conclude.
Okay, conclusion is there, but what?
But so we
can-
meanwhile have to point out our own opinion, I think.
Yes.
Whatever.
No, there's a fine opinion is there, but what you can do is you can briefly add one aspect. Okay. That is,
Comparison.
sorry,
Comparison with other nations.
not comparison. You can simply give reasons for adoption of checks and balances over separation of power. Why did we choose, or why we prefer separation of checks and balance over separation of power? That is, one, we adopted parliamentary democracy. Separation of power is possible in presidential democracy, not in parliamentary democracy. Right. What else?
Diverse voices should be heard.
Sir,
choosing
Okay,
accountability
arbitrary next.
Yes. Accountability
over stability.
over stability.
Curtail arbitrariness.
Hmm?
Curtail
Preventing
arbitrariness.
majoritarianism.
Tyranny over the
Yes, tyranny and majoritarianism. Okay. So this is going to be the X factor into your answer. Okay. Trust me, out of 100, just one will write this. Okay. And at the end, yes, how are you going to conclude?
Sir, we can use the doctrine of harmonious construction.
Okay. What else? अपने इस particular answer में what is missing in this answer? What is missing in this answer?
Our opinion.
quote.
The Supreme Court judgment.
Who said quote?
scholarly quote.
A quote.
Yes, quote. Right, quote missing है ना? In previous answers, we have tried to provide the quote. You can conclude with the Supreme Court also. Supreme Court judgment also. That is, Supreme Court has considered the separation of power and checks and balances as the basic feature of the Constitution. Okay, in various judgment, you can mention one judgment. Or the second, what is the objective of this? To check concentration of power. And what is the quote you have on power? Yes, one quote that you know related to the power.
Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts.
Yes.
Absolute power corrupts and
Power
yes,
corrupts.
corrupts and absolute power corrupts.
Who has given that quote?
Lord Acton.
Lord Acton. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. Lord Acton. Okay. Thus, section balance is basic feature of Indian Constitution. Okay. This is your conclusion. And in this particular question, this is going to be your X factor. So in this particular question, you can skip this particular part. That is principle of SOP. या फिर इसका थोड़ा और इसको छोटा करो. And then this is going to be your X factor. This itself is going to give you extra 1 mark because you are covering 3 aspects to it.